What is up, coin hunters and treasure seekers? Welcome back to the channel, where we turn pocket change into pure gold. Today, we are kicking off an epic 8-coin series that is going to blow your mind. We are diving deep into the world of Australian numismatics, and we are starting with a heavy hitter that most people walk right past without a second glance. Get ready, because we are breaking down everything you need to know about the legendary 1936 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny. This isn't just a piece of copper. Guys, this is a piece of history that survived the Great Depression and the reign of King George V. Now, if you look at a standard 1936 penny, you'll see that iconic portrait of King George V on the obverse. This was actually the very last year his image appeared on the penny before the transition to the Commonwealth design we all know and love. Because it was the final year of this specific series, collectors go absolutely wild for high-grade specimens. Most of the 1936 pennies you find in old jars or at flea markets are going to be worn down, brown, and maybe worth a few bucks. And this is a massive, but if you find one that still has that original mint red luster, you are looking at a serious payday. The 1936 penny was struck primarily at the Melbourne Mint, and while nearly 10 million were made for circulation, the proof versions are the real unicorns of the coin world. These were special strikes made with polished dies and planchets, often reserved for archives or VIP collectors. They are so rare that when one hits the auction block, the entire coin world stops and stares. We're talking about a coin with mirror-like surfaces and razor-sharp detail that looks like it was minted yesterday, not nearly a century ago. You have to check the reverse of your coin very carefully. Look at the word penny and the scrolls around it. On some of these high-end rarities, the strike is so crisp that every single line in the scrollwork is visible. If you think you have a high-grade specimen, do not clean it. I repeat, do not clean it. Cleaning a rare coin like this can instantly slash its value by 90%. Instead, get it into a protective sleeve and look for any signs of mint state brilliance. Now let's talk about the absolute peak of the market for this specific year. While a regular circulated 1936 penny might only buy you a cup of coffee, the finest known examples, specifically the ultra-rare proof versions or those in superb gem condition, have reached astronomical levels. In fact, a top-tier specimen of this exact coin has been known to command a staggering market value of $46,500 in the right auction setting. Can you believe that? A single penny worth as much as a luxury car. We're just getting started with this 8-coin countdown, so make sure you stay tuned. Which coin do you want to see next? Drop a comment below, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next massive treasure reveal. Would you like me to move on to the next coin in the series now? Next up, we are talking about the 1927 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny. This isn't just a coin. It is a copper masterpiece that carries the weight of an empire. And today, we're going to uncover why this specific date is the holy grail for serious investors and collectors across the globe. First, let's set the scene. In 1927, Australia was celebrating a massive milestone, the opening of the first Parliament House in Canberra. While the world was looking at the new capital, the Melbourne Mint was busy striking these beautiful pennies featuring the sophisticated effigy of King George V. Now, millions of these were released into circulation to be spent on bread, newspapers, and milk. Most of them were handled by thousands of hands, dropped in the dirt, and worn down until the king's crown was nothing but a smooth blur. But among those millions, there are a handful of specimen and proof strikes that are so perfect, they look like they were frozen in time. What makes the 1927 penny so legendary is the sheer perfection of the strike on the rarest examples. If you are holding one, you need to look at the beading, those tiny little dots around the rim. On a standard penny, they might be faint or uneven. But on a high-value 1927 rarity, those beads stand up like tiny soldiers, perfectly uniform and sharp. And then there's the color. Most copper coins turn a dull, chocolate brown over time. But the coins we are looking for today have stayed full red. That means they still possess the fiery, orange-gold glow they had the second they popped out of the coin press nearly a century ago. Collectors are obsessed with the 1927 because it represents the pinnacle of Australian minting technology of that era. When you find one that has been graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC in a high mint state or as a proof, you aren't just looking at money anymore. You are looking at fine art. These are the coins that big-time hedge fund managers and elite collectors fight over in hushed auction rooms. They are tucked away in bank vaults and private galleries because they are safer than gold and twice as beautiful. The market for Australian pennies has been absolutely exploding lately, and the 1927 is leading the charge. When the quality is undeniable and the rarity is proven, the price tags start to look like telephone numbers. To give you an idea of just how much power this copper coin holds, the absolute finest known examples have been valued at an incredible $175,400 by experts and auction houses. Just imagine finding that in an old cigar box or at the bottom of a trunk in your granddad's attic. It just goes to show that you should never, ever underestimate the power of a single penny. We are only 2 coins into our 8-coin journey, and the stakes are already through the roof. You do not want to miss what is coming up next, because the numbers are only going to get crazier from here. Are you ready for the 3rd coin in this $1 million lineup? Next up, stop everything you are doing and lean in close, because we have just reached the god tier of Australian numismatics. If you have ever dreamed of finding a life-changing fortune hidden in a dusty jar or a forgotten coin album, this is the one you need to memorize. We are talking about the 1923 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny. This isn't just a rare coin. It is a legendary mystery wrapped in copper. In the world of Australian collecting, the 1923 penny is the stuff of myths and legends. A coin so elusive that many collectors spend their entire lives searching for one and never even get to see it in person. What makes the 1923 penny so special? It's all about the numbers and a massive mystery at the mint. According to official records from the 1920s, there weren't actually supposed to be many pennies minted that year. In fact, for a long time, people thought the 1923 penny didn't even exist in high grades. But as it turns out, a very small number were produced, likely at the Sydney Mint, using dies that weren't even supposed to be in use. This created a massive key date rarity that stands as the undisputed king of the George V penny series. It is the ultimate hole in every collector's album that almost no one can fill. When you are hunting for a 1923, you have to be an absolute detective. You are looking at the reverse side, checking every single detail of the date. Because these are so valuable, there are plenty of fakes out there. But a genuine 1923 has a specific look, a certain soul, to the strike that experts can spot from across the room. We're talking about the alignment of the digits, the way the 3 sits next to the 2, and the overall luster of the metal. If you find one that has survived in mint state condition, meaning it never actually made it into someone's pocket to buy a piece of candy, you have essentially won the lottery. The demand for this coin is unlike anything else in the hobby. It doesn't matter if the economy is up or down. The 1923 penny is a blue chip asset. It's a kind of item that makes billionaire investors pick up the phone. Why? Because while there are thousands of gold bars in the world, there are only a handful of high-grade 1923 pennies. It represents a moment in time when the Australian minting process was in flux, creating a perfect storm of low mintage and high historical significance. It is the Mona Lisa of Australian copper. The price of prestige like this is truly mind-blowing. When a 1923 penny in exceptional world-class condition surfaces at a major auction house, it doesn't just break records, it shatters them. We are talking about a level of wealth that can buy a house in cash, all contained within a tiny circular piece of metal. This specific year has seen values climb all the way up to an incredible $320,000 for the absolute finest specimens known to man. Can you even comprehend that? Over $250,000 for a single penny. This is why we do what we do, guys. This is why we check every coin every time. We are only 3 coins deep into our list of 8, and we have already hit the stratosphere. The energy is electric, and the coins are only getting more legendary as we go. Do you want to see if the next coin can possibly top this one? Let me know when you're ready for coin number 4. Next up, buckle up everyone, because we are diving straight into one of the most fascinating and controversial chapters in the entire history of the Australian Mint. If you thought the 1923 was a wild ride, wait until you hear the story behind the 1922 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny. This coin is a total powerhouse, a collector's dream, and a numismatic puzzle all rolled into one. While most people are out there looking for modern gold, the real veterans of the hobby know that the real treasure is hidden in the copper of the early 20s. We are talking about a coin that has sparked debates in boardrooms and auction houses for decades. What makes the 1922 penny such a high-octane find? It's all about the varieties, baby. In 1922, the Australian mints were working overtime, and they were using multiple sets of dies from different locations, including Melbourne and Perth. This led to some of the most famous and valuable variations in the entire history of the Commonwealth. You've got the large 2, the small 2, and the legendary 1922 over 21 error. If you're looking at a 1922 penny, you aren't just looking at the date, you are looking for a miracle. The sheer complexity of this year means that a normal penny might be worth $20, but a rare variety in high grade is worth a literal fortune. Imagine for a second the journey this coin has taken. It was minted just a few years after the end of the Great War. Australia was growing, the economy was shifting, and these pennies were the lifeblood of daily commerce. They were passed from soldiers to shopkeepers, from parents to children. To find one today that hasn't been scratched, dented, or corroded is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of the outback. But for the elite hunters who track down specimen strikes or coins with full mint red luster, the rewards are absolutely life-changing. We are talking about surfaces that glow with a fiery intensity, showing off the majestic detail of King George V crown and the intricate patterns of the Australian reverse. The 1922 is the ultimate sleeper coin. Many amateur collectors see the date and move on, not realizing they might be holding a specimen worth more than a fleet of luxury SUVs. This is why you need to get your magnifying glass out and check the spacing of the letters in Commonwealth and the exact alignment of the date digits. Every millimeter matters. When a coin is this rare and this sought after, the difference between a grade of MS-63 and MS-65 can be tens of thousands of dollars. It is a high-stakes game of quality, and only the best of the best make it to the winner's circle. The market for these 1922 beauties is absolutely on fire right now. We are seeing a massive surge in interest from international investors who realize that Australian copper is some of the rarest and most undervalued material on the planet. When a legendary 1922 penny with impeccable provenance and breathtaking eye appeal hits the auction block, the bidding wars are nothing short of legendary. For a coin of this unparalleled caliber, the price can reach the dizzying heights of $172,900 in today's elite market. Isn't that absolutely insane? We are talking about enough money to change your life forever, all hidden inside a coin that could be sitting in an old jar on your bookshelf right now. This 1922 penny is the 4th gem in our 8-coin treasure map, and the momentum is building to a fever pitch. We are halfway through the list, and the history is only getting richer, and the values are only getting more staggering. Are you ready to see what coin number 5 has in store for us? Let's keep this hype train rolling. Next up, we are talking about the 1920 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny, a coin that represents a chaotic, experimental, and absolutely thrilling time in Australian history. If you are a fan of the hunt, this is the coin that will keep you up at night. The year 1920 was a year of massive transition for the Australian Mint, and because of that, this single date created a field of varieties that collectors spend decades trying to master. It is a year of mystery errors and secret marks that can turn a common piece of copper into a high-value asset that collectors would move mountains to own. Now, why is 1920 so legendary in the coin community? Well, during this time, the production of pennies was being split between the Melbourne Mint, the Sydney Mint, and even the Perth Mint. Because the dies were being passed around and modified, a whole secret code of mint marks was born. You've got the plain 1920, the dot above the top scroll, the dot below the bottom scroll, and even the doubled up varieties. Most people just see the date 1920 and think they have a normal coin, but the real experts are looking for those tiny, microscopic dots. Those dots are the difference between a coin you give to your kids and a coin you put in a high-security vault. But the 1920 penny isn't just about the dots. It's about the incredible proof and specimen strikes that were produced during this era. Back then, the mint would occasionally strike a small handful of coins with extra care, using specially prepared planchets and polished dies to create a finish that is almost supernatural. When you see a 1920 penny in full red condition, it doesn't even look like metal. It looks like liquid fire. The detail on King George V's robes and the crispness of the lettering on the reverse are so sharp they could almost cut glass. These are the coins that survived the Roaring Twenties, the Great Depression, and 2 World Wars without a single scratch. Finding a 1920 penny in circulation is common, but finding one that has been preserved in a state of perfection is like finding a dinosaur egg in your backyard. It just doesn't happen every day. This is why the 1920 is a staple of every high-end auction. It represents the grit and the industrial spirit of Australia as it found its footing after the First World War. Investors love this coin because it has a proven track record of growth. As more and more people realize just how difficult it is to find these pennies in high grades, the competition for the few remaining gems becomes a total frenzy. When the hammer falls at a major auction house for one of these rare 1920 varieties or a high-grade specimen, the numbers are enough to make your jaw hit the floor. We are looking at a coin that has reached a prestigious value of $67,400 for the absolute top-tier examples. Can you imagine flipping through an old album and seeing that dot above or dot below staring back at you, knowing it's worth a small fortune? This is coin number 5 on our epic 8-coin countdown, and we are not slowing down for a second. The history is deep, the money is huge, and the excitement is only growing. Are you ready to see what's waiting for us at number 6? Give me the word, and let's keep hunting. Next up, get your gear ready, collectors, because we are traveling back to the middle of the First World War for a coin that is absolutely dripping with history and wartime intrigue. We are talking about the 1917 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny, a coin that was born out of necessity and forged thousands of miles away from the Australian shores. If you think every penny is the same, you need to listen up, because the 1917 is a wartime survivor that carries a secret mark that can turn a simple piece of bronze into a high-stakes investment. During 1917, the world was in total chaos. Because of the pressures of the Great War, the Australian mints couldn't keep up with the demand for local currency. So what did they do? They looked to the British Empire for help, specifically to the Calcutta Mint in India. This is why the 1917 penny is so distinct. If you flip your coin over to the reverse side and look right at the bottom, just below the lower ornate scroll, you are looking for a tiny, microscopic I mint mark. That I stands for India, and it marks this coin as a true relic of global history. It's a piece of copper that traveled across the Indian Ocean in the middle of a global conflict just to end up in the pockets of Australians nearly 110 years ago. But here is where it gets really exciting for us treasure hunters. Because these coins were struck in India and shipped under wartime conditions, finding one in gem condition today is almost impossible. Most 1917 pennies spent decades clinking around in change purses, getting worn down until the detail of King George V's crown was completely gone. But a tiny, tiny fraction of these coins were tucked away in bank vaults or private collections and never saw a single day of circulation. When you find 1917, a penny that still has its original mint red luster, that beautiful, fiery, orange glow, you aren't just looking at a coin. You are looking at a miracle of preservation. The red examples are the ones that drive the big money auctions into a total meltdown. Most 1917 pennies turn a dark chocolate brown over time, which is natural for copper. But full red means the metal hasn't oxidized at all. It looks exactly like it did when it left the Calcutta Mint in 1917. Collectors and high-end investors track these coins for years. waiting for a single high-grade specimen to surface. When it does, the bidding wars are fierce, fast, and incredibly expensive. We are talking about the kind of rarity that defines a world-class collection. The value for a coin with this level of historical significance and physical perfection is truly astronomical. When you have a 1917 penny that is graded at the absolute top of the scale, showing off every tiny detail of the king's robes and the sharpest possible eye mint mark, you are looking at a market price of $114,700 for the finest known examples. It is mind-blowing to think that a coin meant to buy a newspaper during the war could now buy a luxury property. This is why you have to check every single 1917 penny you find. Don't just look at the date. Look for that eye and look for that original red color. We are moving through our 8-coin series at lightning speed, and the stories are only getting better. We've covered 6 legendary coins so far, and we have 2 more massive reveals left. Are you ready to see what coin number 7 is? Drop a yes in the comments, and let's keep this hype going. Next up, we are moving into the absolute elite territory of the Edwardian era's aftermath with a coin that collectors whisper about in the most prestigious auction houses on the planet. We are talking about the 1913 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny. A coin that represents the very infancy of the Australian nation's own currency. If you want to talk about blue chip investments, this is the one. While 1913 might seem like just another year on the calendar, in the world of professional numismatics, it is a year of unparalleled elegance and massive, massive stakes. Let's break down the pedigree of this absolute unit. In 1913, the Australian penny was still being produced at the Royal Mint in London. Because these coins had to survive a treacherous journey across the globe by sea, most of them arrived with tiny bag marks or scratches. To find one today that has been preserved in a state of absolute perfection, free from the wear of circulation and the ravages of time, is like finding a portal to the past. The 1913 penny features the London die, known for its incredibly high relief and artistic detail. When you see a specimen in choice uncirculated or gem condition, the portrait of King George V looks almost three-dimensional. The way the light catches the copper is simply hypnotic. But what really sets the 1913 apart from the pack is the proof strike. Guys, you have to understand that back in the early 1900s, proof coins weren't made for the general public like they are today. They were masterworks, struck with immense pressure to ensure every single detail was captured. There are only a handful of these 1913 proof pennies known to exist in the entire world. They are the crown jewels of Australian copper. If you are ever lucky enough to even hold one, you are holding a piece of history that was never meant to be spent. It was meant to be admired as the pinnacle of human craftsmanship. Now, the regular 1913 pennies you find in your average collection might be worth $100 or maybe $1,000 if they are in great shape. But we aren't here for average. Are we? We are here for the record breakers. The elite collectors, the ones who buy coins as if they were Picasso's, are looking for the full red gem specimens. These are coins that have avoided oxidation for over 112 years. They shine with an orange-gold fire that is so bright it looks like the coin was struck 5 minutes ago. When one of these unicorns surfaces, the world's wealthiest collectors come out of the woodwork to do battle. The value of a 1913 penny at this level of perfection is enough to make your heart skip a beat. We are talking about a coin that has surpassed every expectation and set a standard for what Australian copper can achieve. For the absolute finest, highest graded specimens and the ultra-rare proof versions, the market value has soared to an incredible $262,500 in recent years. Can you believe the power of a single penny? It is a testament to the history, the art, and the sheer rarity of the Australian series. We have reached the 7th coin in our 8-coin series, and the numbers are just getting more and more legendary. We have one more coin left to reveal, the final boss of Australian pennies. Are you ready to see the grand finale that tops them all? Let me know, and we will reveal the ultimate treasure. Next up, this is it, the grand finale, the absolute summit of our mountain of copper. We have traveled through time, survived wars, and explored the secret codes of mint marks, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepares you for the final boss of our 8-coin series. We are talking about the 1912 Commonwealth of Australia 1 penny. This is the coin that separates the casual hobbyists from the titans of the industry. If you own a high-grade 1912 penny, you don't just have a collection. You have a legacy. This coin is a masterclass in early 20th century minting, and its story is one of prestige, perfection, and pure, unadulterated power. Why does the 1912 carry so much weight? To understand its value, you have to look at the H mint mark. In 1912, the Australian penny production was assisted by the Ralph Heaton and Sons Mint in Birmingham, England. These H-mark pennies are iconic because the quality of a strike was often superior to the local mints of the time. However, because they had to be shipped across the rough seas to reach Australia, the vast majority arrived with scratches, contact marks, and dull surfaces. To find a 1912 H penny today that escaped the chaos of the ocean and the wear of the Australian outback is like finding a ghost in a machine. It is a 1 in a million occurrence. When you are looking at a top-tier 1912, the first thing that hits you is the luster. On a gem-grade specimen, the copper doesn't just sit there, it radiates. We're talking about a vibrant, swirling orange-red color that collectors call full mint red. If your 1912 looks like it's glowing from the inside, you are looking at a coin that was likely tucked away in a velvet-lined box the moment it arrived from England. Every tiny strand of King George V's beard, every bead in his crown, and every detail of the ornate scrolls on the reverse is sharp enough to jump off the metal. This is the level of quality that makes professional graders at PCGS or NGC lose their minds. But let's talk about the scarcity of perfection. While over 3 million were minted, how many survived in a condition that would satisfy a billionaire investor? Very, very few. This coin represents the second year of the Australian penny's existence, making it a foundational piece for any serious Commonwealth collection. It is the bedrock of the series. Because of its age and the chemical sensitivity of copper, finding a 1912 that hasn't turned brown or developed carbon spots is the ultimate challenge. It is the prize at the end of a very long and very expensive rainbow. The market for this specific date has reached a fever pitch that most people can't even imagine. We have seen the prices for these copper masterpieces climb higher and higher as global investors realize that high-grade Australian pennies are some of the rarest items on the planet. When a 1912 H in superb gem, condition, or a rare specimen strike appears at auction, it's not just a sale, it's an event. For a coin of this unparalleled historical magnitude and physical brilliance, the market has reached a staggering value of $242,800 for the finest known examples. Take a deep breath and let that sink in. Nearly $250,000 for a piece of 1912 copper. That concludes our epic 8-coin journey. We've seen fortunes hidden in plain sight and history captured in metal. You guys have been amazing through this whole series. Now that we've finished this list, is there another series or a specific set of rare coins you want me to break down next? Let me know in the comments, and let's keep the treasure hunt alive.